Okay, Jonathan, you have the floor.
All right, sounds good. So what I would like to do today is go over some strategies to help you guys increase your income with some of the clients you already seen, and then after I go through that, I have a case study that I would like to do with you guys, and hopefully we can unmute people during that case study because I'd like to get some feedback from people out there to talk about this particular case. And I think one of the most useful things that people can do to progress, obviously, is to utilize our process of doing actual cases and either doing them yourself or with me. So I've got one that's got a lot of kind of interesting moving parts there that I think would be a great one to learn from. But hopefully you guys have recovered from watching the presidential debates last night. It was pretty wild. But hopefully the market reacted a little bit yesterday. In fact, I don't know what's going on today, but I think we're going to be in for a little bit of a wild ride this fall when you take into account the election coming up in November, but also all the wild media attention it's getting, and then that together with the fact that the market's sort of been poised to correct over it's been doing so well for such a long period of time and recovery now anyway. We have inflation that has been so low for so long, interest rates that have been so low for so long, artificially such, so to keep the economy together probably through this election. We may be seeing some pretty drastic changes coming up, so hopefully you and your clients are ready. So the reason why I'm doing this particular topic today, and I think the topic, let's see if I can get into it real quick. I think the topic that we're talking about today has to do with increasing your income by 50%. Let's see what you said. Yeah, looking to increasing your income over the next 12 months and how you can make more money on the business you're already doing. So we're not going to be talking about much marketing today, but we are going to be talking about how to increase your income with the clients you've already seen. What really jogged my thought process as we're preparing for this particular call was I have been running into clients of mine as well as joint cases of clients with advisors that I've been doing all over the country. And I see these guys that I think would consider themselves in the same business as we are in. And like 90% of the time, these guys have sold this particular client or prospect an annuity of some sort. Or if they're a money manager, they handle their investments. But so seldom, and it's just shocking to me, but so seldom did they do any other lines of business. And I think we forget that we are licensed to transact multiple lines of business with the licenses that we hold. Even if you're only insurance licensed, you can do a whole lot more than just annuities, and it's really incredible to me how underutilized these things are. So we're going to talk about, obviously, some long-term care strategies. We're going to talk about some disability insurance strategies. We're going to talk about uncovering hidden money with refinances, and we're also going to talk about how to make sure that you're setting your client up properly to mitigate against any of the sort of unknown risks in retirement, to include increased taxation, to include stock market risk, to include death or disability prematurely, to include lawsuits, to include an ill-prepared or underprepared estate plan, and all these things that I sort of think we all kind of claim to handle for all our clients, but a lot of times we sort of forget. And I'm not judging the guys on this call or the guys at Creative, but I'm judging it by what I see going out every day, meeting with clients, and what they have taken care of and what they don't. So it's kind of a huge fallacy for the individual guy out there that tells me, oh, well, I've got everything taken care of. I've got a financial planner. And when they give me an opening like that, it's really incredible because I can't even remember a time when I've asked a client, well, tell me about how your financial planner has coordinated your overall planning with your accountant or your attorney or the employer at work and your employer-sponsored plans and all these things, because they never really have, and it always leaves us an opportunity to discredit, if they have somebody that they're using, to discredit the person that they're using. And I've also found that the majority of the time when somebody says, I'm all set, I have a financial planner, it's not necessarily because they have a financial planner or even that they have a relationship with one. It's just that they're a little bit insecure about showing you their stuff, and they're trying to, in a nice way, saying, I'm not comfortable with you seeing my stuff. So we start this conversation. In fact, I think maybe the easiest thing to do is I'm going to flash on the screen the case study. We're going to go back to the case study later, but I want to flash it on the screen now so you can kind of see this particular client that we're going to talk about. So we have a guy here who is 64 years old, and there's so much stuff on here. I mean, it's really amazing to me how much opportunity there is in this particular case. But this particular person is a self-employed guy. And, obviously this call is being recorded, so I really urge you to look at this information when you have some more time and just kind of see if the opportunities that we're going to be talking about pop out to you as they did pop out to me. So one of the things that you'll see here, this guy is self-employed. He's a contractor, so he does remodels and buildings and all this kind of stuff. And his wife is a nurse. And so at age 64, he thinks he's going to retire another 3 years. He's successfully raised 3 children, all out of college. I think one of them is actually married now, so he's kind of living in his golden years. He's in this sort of mindset of catch-up where he's saving a ton of money. His wife is basically deferring everything she makes essentially into her 403B. He's doing as much as he possibly can to get his match in his 401K. Doesn't have a ton of assets. Got Social Security projections. We'll talk about that. But this is a guy who told me he's got a financial planner. And I said, okay. He's like, yeah, I deal with this guy. I think it might have actually been a fee-based planner or something like that. And he deals with a Schwab account. He's got $350,000 in a Schwab account with this financial planner. And so I asked him, I said, okay, that's fantastic. I think this guy, and in fact, I don't even know if I got a statement from the investment guy, but when I met with this particular client at the beginning, I said, so tell me, how was the Schwab guy giving you advice on your accounts? And, whether he subscribes to a newsletter or whether he's buying and selling stocks or doing managed money or whatever else he's doing doesn't make any difference to me, because I know and I can tell that he's only giving him advice on this one thing. He's got $350,000 invested with him, but he's not giving him advice anywhere else. And the real reason why I know he's probably not giving him advice anywhere else is, number one, he has accounts at work that are probably transferable, and they were probably transferable when this guy turned 59 and a half, and he's now 64. He's got a bunch of money in savings that is probably not doing anything for him at all. He's got a bunch of term life insurance, which, again, is not uncommon. And then the other thing that was really standing out to me is he's got this kind of mortgage situation. And, he took a HELOC out in the house. He's got a house worth $600,000. He's got a pretty big mortgage on it. But the interest rate doesn't look right. And I do this all the time, but I say, when did your mortgage or when did your financial guy talk to you about how to best integrate your real estate and mortgage strategy into your overall plan? And, of course, the guy didn't. So, there's so many different opportunities here. But before I get into any of these real opportunities, I want to talk about the most important thing, which is upfront, which is really, what is this guy going to do when he retires and he has no life insurance and he has no long-term care? What is this guy seriously going to do? I mean, he's such the primary breadwinner, right? Obviously, we want to go after his money. And a lot of times I will tell you that if you do go after his money before you get into the protection stuff, you might actually get the money. You may do the rollover. You may acquire the client. You may make a commission. But are you really doing the right thing? And I would argue that the likelihood of you getting all of his money by not going after it at first is much, much higher. So we were just at a master class symposium kind of deal. I think it was the top 6 life insurance guys over the summertime who are newly appointed with Mutual Trust, got invited to a golf event that we just got back from last week in Chicago. The idea of this event was really to talk about sales ideas, sales strategies, get to know each other, play some golf, eat a ton of food, drink a bunch of drinks, and have fun. But in this class and in this get-together that we just had, it really became apparent to me, as we talked about in the group, how underserviced and how uneducated the general public is about long-term care insurance. And so we talked for hours about long-term care. But I will tell you right now, true story, yesterday morning, one of my clients walks into my office. His name is Isaiah. He's 77 years old. His wife is about 10 years younger than him, in her late 60s. They're both just recently retired. They were diagnosed, or I should say he was diagnosed right before he came to me with dementia, some type of Alzheimer's dementia. And he was a college professor, intelligent, brilliant guy. And he still gets dressed up to the nines when he comes to my office. I think it's fantastic. He's got his bow tie on, his suit on. He looks fantastic. And he says to me, or I should say his wife says to me, Jonathan, I think that we're going to go ahead and apply to get some services on the long-term care that you set up for us. I said, really? I said, I think that's a fantastic idea. I said, what makes you think that you guys can get some benefit from the long-term care? Does your husband need help getting dressed in the morning? She's like, no, not really. Does he need help going to the bathroom? Yeah, maybe a little bit, but it's not a real issue. I said, well, what is the real problem here? And she said, the real problem is cognitive impairment, which is incredibly, incredibly common nowadays. So what does cognitive impairment mean? Well, I'm going to show you guys one of these definitions of cognitive impairment. So this is the chronic and terminal illness rider on one of the insurance policies that I did for this particular client. Okay? And you're going to see here that there is something on here called chronic or terminal illness death benefit rider. And we're looking right now at the chronic illness provision. Okay, so anybody who's 75 years or under can qualify for this chronic illness provision. It includes the base policy plus paid up additions rider, and there's no cost at all for this. Okay. And what the event means, what qualifying event means, chronic illness means that sometime in the last 12 months, it doesn't mean you have to wait 12 months, but it means sometime in the last 12 months, a physician, it doesn't say 2 physicians or 3 physicians, it says a physician has a written certification that says that this person is unable to perform at least 2 activities of daily living without substantial assistance from another person, or due to a loss of functional capacity for 90 days. So it would be questionable whether this particular client of mine would qualify for chronic illness under this definition. He may or may not need help with these 2 out of however many ADLs, but there's a second qualifier here. And the second qualifier is, it says here, so it says here that he can have the activities of daily living, or, right there, that's the big or, that's an important or, not and, but or, right, require substantial supervision for another person to protect the insured from threats to health and safety due to severe cognitive impairment. So I said to her, so tell me what's been going on. And she said, well, I came home the other day, and usually, I'm with him all the time because he's retired and we're just together. But I came home the other day, and the front door was wide open. And I went into the house, and there was a couple neighborhood kids in my house, and my husband was sitting there. And apparently what had happened was he had wandered out of the house and was gone for close to 3 hours and couldn't find his way back. Had a telephone, had a cell phone in his pocket, couldn't figure out how to turn it on. The neighborhood kids knew him, knew where we lived, walked him back to the house, and sat and waited for me to come home. Now, how incredibly fortunate it was that they lived in this neighborhood where this type of kind of helpful situation was there. Because what if the kids weren't there? Where could this guy have wandered off to, right? And I looked at him and I said, Isaiah, I said, do you know your address? And he said to me, of course I know my address. He spoke perfectly clearly. He said, of course I know my address. I said, Isaiah, what's your address? No response whatsoever. Not even a single number. I said, Isaiah, what's your phone number? What's your wife's phone number? Not a single response whatsoever. I said, you know what, Joyce? You need to go apply him so you can start getting some money from your policy. not because you necessarily are overly concerned about using your long-term care rider, but because you're going to need to have a break, because you don't want to have to babysit your husband all day long. You have errands to run. You have things that you want to do. You have a life you want to lead. Stay with your husband as much as you can, but when you need a break, 4 hours a day, 6 hours a day, whatever it is, you will have this extra money to come and help pay for that. And she said to me, oh, my gosh, that would be a game changer for me. It would take so much worry off of my plate that I wouldn't have to leave my husband at home alone anymore for any significant period of time. I know there's adult daycare options. I don't really want to send him to adult daycare because I really enjoy spending time with him. We still have great conversations. We go on walks together. But I have so much anxiety when I go shopping for food or when I need to go to my doctor's appointments. And a lot of times I don't want to have to drag him out there or take me with him. But that's amazing. So what they're eligible to get is quite astonishing. And the reason why it's astonishing is not just because of the level of benefits that they can get, but how these benefits come to them. So number one, the minimum amount they can take out in an annual basis is 5% of whatever the insurance amount is. So in this particular case, they got $1 million life insurance policy. Okay? So they can take out 5% of that per year, or $50,000, up to a maximum of 24%, or $240,000. That's per year. So this particular case, this client can take out anywhere between $50,000 to $250,000 a year, essentially, or any amount in between, or even less if they wanted to. The reason why this is so important, number one, is because it's completely tax-free. So if they needed to take some amount of money to pay for help around the house, part-time, full-time care, where do most people go to take this money out? They got to go to retirement accounts. And so those retirement accounts are taxable. So in order to get $50,000 out of a taxable account, you're going to normally need to take out $75,000 of withdrawals to net your 50. Or if you need 100, you're going to need to take out 150 to net the 100. And people don't realize that until they actually have to do it. Well, in this case, you need 50, they're going to give you a check for 50. The other reason why this is so important is because this is a rider on an insurance policy. So not only is it tax-free, but this is not a long-term care insurance policy. So I remember really vividly, I have an aunt who's still alive, lives right down the street from me. She's in her 90s. She's deaf and she's blind. So she can't hear anything and she can't see anything. So she needs full-time care. Her kids, who are my cousins, they live in Michigan and Seattle and Hawaii. And I was on the phone with them for hours and hours and hours about 4 or 5 years ago. And we were fighting with those daggone insurance companies. Number one, to get her on claim, but number two, all of these receipts that we had to send them to show what was approved, what wasn't approved, what they were going to underwrite, what they were going to nickel and dime us to death about. It was like serious work, like refinancing a house kind of every time we wanted to get reimbursed for something. It was absolutely incredible. I couldn't believe it. I was so frustrated and upset with the insurance companies for treating these people like they did when it was so clearly obvious that they paid the money and the claim was supposed to be paid. So at the end of the day, they got all the money, but it was so much time, effort, and work to get reimbursed. It was horrible. Not the case when it comes to these kind of riders, okay? You do not need to submit reimbursements. They don't say anywhere in this policy, we will give you money equal to what you spend out of pocket. They just said, you can have the money. You can actually still have long-term care with another company. You can get that benefit, get reimbursed, and still get this money on top of that to do whatever the heck you want to do with it. Spend it, waste it, gift it to grandkids, take vacation with it. Who the heck cares? It's available for you to do whatever you want with it. No taxes, no strings attached. It's really quite amazing. So we're talking about long-term care complements, supplements, maybe alternatives, maybe not, depending upon the situation. There's another nice piece here which we'll show you. Again, this is a piece just for your sake. I believe you can share this with clients if you want to. You can send it out to these guys. But this explanation is so incredibly easy. It says here, estimated 45% of the population will have at least one chronic illness. I don't know when these stats were done, but it says here by 2025, 50% of all Americans are going to have problems with activities of daily living. So what this particular rider does is exactly what I told you about before, is it provides an income or a lump sum amount, however you want to take it, tax-free each year out of the policy based upon the size of the policy. There's no cost to this rider. And, of course, if the person dies or becomes terminally ill, they can access a different amount of the policy as well. So it's an incredible opportunity to have a conversation with somebody about long-term care and not actually have to buy long-term care insurance. And I'm not even saying that they shouldn't buy long-term care insurance. I'm saying maybe they should, but here's what I've been finding out lately. Okay, the clients that we've been talking about long-term care insurance to, or the ones that already have long-term care insurance, the premiums have been skyrocketing. They've absolutely been skyrocketing, in some cases doubling the premium of somebody who's only in their 60s. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't know the last time that we as an industry have been faced with a better opportunity than we have in front of us right now. I'm not talking about the market crashing. I'm not talking about a annuity rider. I'm not talking about an income roll-up. I'm not talking about guaranteed roll-up interest, simple versus compound. I'm not going to talk about any of that junk, that worthless, meaningless junk. I'm not talking about any of that stuff. I'm talking about the absolute complete fleecing of elderly people by these long-term care insurance companies. I'm talking about the complete and utter misinformation and lack of education for retired people of how they can handle these long-term care potential exposures, which is the single biggest risk that I believe any of our clients face in retirement. I don't care if you have $4 million, right? This is the same thing you guys have seen over and over again. I'll show you guys again, right? We have a cost of long-term care today, and somebody, let's say, who's, I don't know, 65 years old, it costs $80,000 a year for long-term care today, but they don't need it today. They need it 20 years from now, and long-term care is increasing by about 5% a year. So when they need the long-term care, it's going to be $212,000 a year. That means they need $300,000 in withdrawals, maybe closer to $4, to pay for 1 year worth of care. What if they need 5 years? What if each of the spouses needs 2 years? Right? This is what we're talking about here. It's such an incredible, unbelievable amount of risk that there's no reason on earth why we shouldn't have some type of protection or plan or strategy to mitigate against that type of risk. So long-term care insurance isn't necessarily what we're talking about. We're talking about the long-term care crisis. And we have a flyer that we've been using. If I can see if I can get a copy of it for you right here. Document, probably here. Yep. This is our foundation flyer that we just created that some of you guys have already seen if you came to the special training that you qualified for everybody who's kind of on track for the Hawaii trip next year. It's talking about how to stop long-term care premiums from skyrocketing. It's talking about what the probability is of you needing help with activities of daily living. It's talking about the number of people needing long-term care services doubling from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. It's talking about people not realizing that Medicare doesn't Medicare doesn't cover a single day of long-term care needs. It's talking about what are some low-cost alternatives to nursing homes, and then an in-depth analysis of actual insurance options with some alternatives of what you can do if you can't afford to, don't qualify, or don't want to buy insurance. How many of the retired people in this country or the baby boom generation you think would benefit from this information? I'd say everybody. How many of those guys who call themselves financial planners have covered these topics in detail and in depth with their clients? I'd say almost none of them. So I can't remember a greater opportunity for us to get in front of our clients, to educate them in a group setting or a personal one-on-one setting about these different opportunities. So the long-term care riders on life insurance are one thing. You guys obviously know you can buy long-term care insurance policies. You can get long-term care riders on annuities. There's so many different features and variations and benefits of what you can do. I'm not going to go through all of them today. I just wanted to make sure you guys understood about, what a real opportunity there is. Nobody's doing it. People are getting out of the long-term care business, guys. There is about, of the long-term care companies that I know that were in business 10, 15 years ago, I think maybe half of them are still there, maybe. That means half of the people have left the business. Do you think that means it's easier for us to talk to people about it, or do you think there's more competition and it's harder? It's definitely easier. There's definitely less competition, and it's so incredible that people are going to thank you about it. It's a good opportunity to talk to groups, to talk to employers, to talk to associations, to get involved and in front of large amounts of people. Elizabeth, who heads our foundation, has been shotgunning this stuff out, and I don't think she's gotten any negative no's or negative responses whatsoever about people saying we're not interested in hearing about this. I think everybody's been interested, and I think as we make our programs better, we're going to get even more and more people interested about this opportunity. The second thing I'm going to mention to you, which is not going to go into detail about today either, but come on, guys, this is really something that's important to me. I have a client who I had a conference call with today who's in his late 50s right now, who's been on disability for the last couple of years because he had a stroke. I have an ex-employee who had a stroke at 39 years old. He will never talk or walk again. 39 years old. And I wonder, when was the last time one of you guys sold a disability insurance policy? Ask yourselves this. When was the last time one of you guys sold a disability insurance policy? And what is going to happen, or what would happen to one of your clients who is still of working age, and if they couldn't work anymore, how would their retirement work out? I just rolled over some money today. Feels good. Yeah, it feels great, but that's not what's so cool about it. What feels great is my client said to me, and this is the wife, she said to me, Jonathan, we don't need any of our money until my husband turns 65. I said, yeah, that's awesome. She's like, because we're getting $10,000 a month tax-free from his disability insurance. Do you know how amazing that is? Until he's 65 years old, he's going to be getting $10,000 a month tax-free from his disability insurance. There are almost 9 million disabled workers out there right now. 9 million of them. And this is Social Security disability. We estimate that for every one person who's on Social Security disability, there's 3 more of them that didn't qualify for Social Security disability but can't work. They're disabled in their primary occupation, but they can do something else. Guys, that's almost 40 million people. That's about 10 to 15% of the entire working population that is suffering through some type of disability. And you haven't sold any disability insurance in the last 6 months, year, 10 years, or ever, when 40 million people are disabled? Are you kidding me? So this particular client of mine who's on disability insurance, who's getting the $10,000 a month, the $10,000 a month is great, okay? It's fantastic that he's getting that, and he'll get that till age 65. But that's not the beauty of the whole thing. The beauty of the whole thing is he doesn't have to worry about money. And when he retires, because he hasn't needed to dip into his retirement accounts and start depleting all those things, he's still going to be able to retire comfortably. That's the beauty of it. So not only can he retire comfortably, but he doesn't have to worry about saving money for retirement because the retirement accounts are still going to continue to grow. But my God, if he needed to draw $10,000 a month out of his retirement accounts to survive until 65, he's going to be gone. They're going to be gone. His retirement accounts will be gone by the time he turns 65, and he will not have any retirement accounts. How much worry did we save this family? How much worry did we save his wife? How much worry did we save their overall plan because we did the right thing and made sure he had disability insurance? You want to make more money for yourself, that's fine. Absolutely. That's what gets your attention. You want to do the right thing for every single person you get in touch with. Make sure they got disability insurance. Make sure they have long-term care. These are only 2 things that are going to help make you more money, but they're going to help bring you credibility to your client, which is much, much more important. You will get the rollover, guys. In this training, we did a case study, and I remember so vividly. I said, all right, this guy's got $500,000 in an investment account. He's got insurance. He's got income. He wants to retire, whatever. I put a model up on the screen, and I said, tell me the first thing that you guys would do with this particular client. And, of course, naturally, the AUM guy in the room said, oh, I'm going to go over his investments in his Schwab account and compare that to my asset allocation model. I said, you've got to be flipping kidding me. I said, explain to me, please, just explain to me what benefit that would bring to that particular client or prospect. If you could name any benefit at all, really, anything at all that's going to bring value to that guy's life by doing that, I'm all ears. What is it? He couldn't name a thing. I said, wouldn't you like to get all of the IRA money and all of the Schwab money without any questions being asked whatsoever after you're done taking care of him and making sure he's going to be okay? The advisor got it right away, guys. He gets it right away. You just forget. You get so caught up in chasing money and chasing commissions and chasing the rollover. You forget what we promised to do in our careers for people. We promised to bring value to their lives. We promised to make their lives better. By rolling over their money into an annuity, are you going to make their life better? Absolutely not. You're not going to make one hill of beans difference in this guy's life. Okay? But by showing him how he's not going to lose all of his life insurance, and this particular guy has disability insurance already. It's self-employed, which is great. Okay? By showing him how his estate's going to be protected from long-term care, by showing him how he's going to save money in taxes, I'll take one look at this guy and I'll say to him, I'm going to put a plan together in the next 5 years, and I'm going to show you how to get approximately $200,000 in tax deductions that don't exist today that we're going to create for you. How does that sound? Do you think we're going to acquire that client? You think he's going to do business with us? Do you think his other financial advisor spent 1 second of his life bringing that kind of value to him? The answer is absolutely not. So we're going to talk about all the different hidden options in this case, and there's also some serious mistakes here. There's some serious mistakes here. I would love, if we can, if you guys are open to it, and I might just talk you guys to death anyway, but if we have the opportunity to unmute the phone and have you guys throw out some ideas on how we might approach this particular case, I would love to hear about that now. We can talk this through while we have a little bit of time left on this conference call. We can talk about where the opportunities are, make money, and really understand how to plan this case, how to start it. And when you really have this mindset of, well, how am I going to make this guy's life better, you'll be absolutely amazed at how smoothly these cases go. Is it possible to unmute the call?
Absolutely, Jonathan. I'm going to unmute the call right now. There'll be a half-second pause, and then everyone will be unmuted.
Awesome.
The conference has been unmuted.
Jonathan, all lines are open.
Okay, Dennis, that's awesome. Thanks so much. So, guys, let's start off with one of the obvious things that I just saw right here. Social Security, right? We're not going to talk to them about rolling over their money. We're not going to talk to them about acquiring them as a client. We're going to talk to them about what is really obvious here with the Social Security. People have heard Social Security has been changing, right? So they're expecting when they retire to draw some meager amount of Social Security here because the guy who's self-employed probably didn't show much income on his taxes and his wife didn't make much money. What's the first thing we're going to show them here on Social Security? Who can tell me? Who has been staying awake for the last 40 minutes?
Turn the lights on early.
Yeah, maybe turn the lights on early. That's one option. What's another option? And why would you turn the lights on early?
To fund the protection you're talking about.
So if they need funding, that could be one reason. But I don't think, they could turn it on right now. They're both 64, right? Before I turn the lights on early, I want to make sure that it's not going to hurt them tax-wise too much. But if you turn the lights on early, what's the wife going to draw? Is she going to draw hers, or is she going to draw half the spouse's?
Half of his.
Yeah. So it's a real simple thing, guys, but I can tell you right now, most people just don't know. We know. We think everybody knows, but they just don't. They will go and draw, she'll go and draw her $7,000 instead of drawing the $10,500 she's eligible to draw. So whether they know it or not, I'm going to point that out to them. I'm going to bring it to the forefront of their thought process so they know right away we're going to bring them some value. That's easy, right? Let's go to something else we might not normally jump to. What do we have down here? What's all this red stuff? And a lot of times I'll wait till I'm done with the case or close to the end of the case when I'll bring this up. But what's wrong with this picture here, guys? Look at the real estate. What do you guys see here?
Consolidate, lower the interest rate.
Yeah, consolidate, lower the interest rate, and drastically reduce his outflow. And he has enough, and increase tax benefits, right? This is a no-brainer. I got people that are saying, hey, we're going to go out and celebrate tonight and drink champagne. This just happened to me like a day or two ago because I told them, hey, look, I know you can get a better interest rate on at least the primary thing, but what if we put these two loans together, right? You're paying all this. Their HELOC payment is only $700 a month, but they're putting all this extra towards it because they don't like it, right? But I'll say to them, okay, well, let's take a look at, they owe $350 plus they owe $45, so let's just round it up to $400. Right, and put us all together at $400,000. Take the table out. Takes us 2 seconds to do this. 3.5, 400,000. So their payment could go to $1,800 for all of the loans together. So when you go back and you say, well, your payment could be $1,800, which is essentially just the first, you can save $1,500 a month in cash flow, get a bigger tax deduction, and pay less interest rate. They freak out. These guys are smart. They're business owners. They don't have time to figure this stuff out on themselves. We show them in 3 seconds what they can do. They freak out. They love it. It's absolutely incredible. We just freed up $18,000 a year of cash flow. This guy is a great saver, guys. He's maxing out his retirement accounts. But we just freed up $18,000 a year. How excited is he going to be? When we find the money, guess who they give the money to do something with? Not his Charles Schwab guy, right? We're going to get that money, 100% for sure. I'm getting the $1,800 or the $1,500 a month. It's coming to us. We're going to do whatever we want with it, and we're going to improve their life. What's the opportunity up here? What can you say to this guy that he probably knows about, but he's going to retire at 67. He's 64 right now. What is his major expense that's going on up here as a self-employed person?
Health insurance.
Health insurance. So maybe you've got some interesting solution for him, but, $22,000 a year for health insurance, guys, that's the reality of people that have their own businesses. They're self-employed. But what's the nice thing about them? What happens when these guys turn 65?
Medicare.
Yeah, the bulk of this health insurance premium is going to go away. So maybe we can save them some money in the short while, but guess what? We just freed up another $20,000. So we're all of a sudden up to $38,000, just like that we just discovered for this guy. We haven't even talked about, well, gee, why do you have all this money in savings? We haven't even talked about, well, gee, why are you putting so much money into deferral? I know you know what a Roth is. I know you know how they work. You have the Roths. Why are you putting money into things that are just taxed later, right? We have so much opportunity in this case, but the last thing in the world we want to do is go after the money. Because I can promise you, if we do things right, naturally in the process, what should happen? If I ignore the money and talk about taxes and fees and insurance and mortgage refinance and cash flow and Medicare and long-term care and disability, 9 times out of 10, what ends up happening with their investment accounts? They end up asking us, well, can you give me some advice over here? Or what do you think I should do? Whereas if we went after that up front, those guys are going to shut down, or those guys are going to feel like we're just trying to sell them something. So, God, I mean, this case is a monster. If I actually added up, I'm not going to do it because I don't want you guys to freak out, but if I added up all the different transactions and commissions and stuff that we could make on this case, it's going to be unflipping believable. But the only way that we have a high likelihood of getting all of the assets and all of the insurance and all the stuff that we want and should be doing is to make sure we do it in the right order, in the right way, which is exactly why we have this process. So what do you say to somebody? Can somebody else help me out here? What is the problem with all this life insurance that he's got? He thinks it's the best thing ever.
Going away
And when's it going to go away?
when he can't afford it anymore.
It's going to go away when the insurance company wants it to go away, right? When they price you out of it because they don't want you to have it when you die. So what do you say to a client in this situation? When you see this situation, what can we say to them?
How would you like to hang on to it?
Yeah, and how would you like to hang on to it? Keep it forever, not lose it, right? And what if you could even earn additional benefits with it? So I just had a new joint case I did with a kid in North Carolina the other day, and I came up with a new thing, which is how do you use the same dollar 4 times? How do you use $1 in your financial model to do 4 things for you? To create, remember the velocity of money? How does the velocity of money work? It's using the same dollar more than once, right? So I'm going to show you guys a solution. I'll show you the life insurance solution. But, we can invest some of this money from savings, put that to work. We can roll over whatever. I just did a really simple illustration for you so you can see it. A mutual trust. And you don't have to use mutual trust. I just really like them. And for those of you guys who have been using them, you know why I like them. Here's the wife, $1 million. Now, at the beginning of the day, I'm not going to say to somebody, hey, you know what? Rather than paying $1,400 a year for life insurance, how would you like to pay $42,000 a year for life insurance? What do you think they would say if I said, hey, how do you feel about putting $42,000 a year into life insurance?
I don't know that it even needs to be in there.
They would flip out. They would absolutely flip out. But if I said to them, we've just discovered about $50,000 or $60,000 of cash flow and extra money that we're going to be unveiling here. Wouldn't you like to have that money go towards something that's tax sheltered? That's an easy answer, right? And then I'll say to them, what if we could use the same dollar and we could accomplish 3 or 4 things? And what does that actually mean? Well, first of all, number one, it's going to create a tax shelter account for them. So let's just do this first thing, the $42,000, right? You put it into an account, and let's go, 20 years down the road, and they've got their $750,000 or their $800,000 in here. They didn't make any money on their cash value. We're not trying to invest money and make money. But what we do know is what we have is if they died anywhere from day 1 till age 100, you would have gotten a tax-free 7-figure settlement. If you needed long-term care, how much of this is available for long-term care? $240,000 a year. If they needed cash because they didn't want to take as much money out of their taxable retirement accounts because taxes got worse, can they access the cash from here? Absolutely. So one of the cool things in here, you'll see here the way that they have this column that says increase in net cash surrender value. The first year, you don't have any money in cash, and we know why that is, guys. You and I know why that is, but the client doesn't know why that is, and we tell them it's because which is true, number one, we know it goes to us. The reason why they don't have any cash, if we didn't make any money, if we didn't earn any commission, they could have cash, right? But we're earning money, but the reality is if they put in $40,000 and then died the next day, the insurance company's on the hook for $1 million. Right? We know this. But the second year they put in the 40, you get 16 back. That 1 year, right? The third year you put in 40, you get 35 back. That's pretty good. So now from that point forward, what's happening is it's actually only costing you a couple $1,000 to maintain the insurance, which is, guess what? Approximately how much they're paying right now for this useless term insurance. A couple $1,000, which is going to skyrocket in cost, and it's going to crush them. I think these premiums are going from $1,500 to $8,000 next year when they turn 65, and they know it, right? So you've got tax-free cash and liquidity. You've got long-term care. And remember, guys, if they wanted $240,000 a year worth of long-term care protection and they needed to pull that money out of an IRA, they'd need to pull out $400,000 to net the same amount after tax. And here's the kicker of the whole deal, guys. There's a chance that they might not spend any of this money. there's a chance that they may not need long-term care. There's a chance that they may not need this cash. And when they die, their family's going to get $1.3 million tax-free. Is there anything wrong with that? Is that okay with you guys? And you'll see here, as people living into their 90s, there's no real insurance anymore. Mutual trust isn't on the hook for anything anymore. You're now earning, without putting any more money there, you're earning $20,000 a year in dividends. Whoops. Your policies are growing. You're not putting any more money into this thing. It doesn't have to be more complicated than this. We don't have to do these analysis of how the market's going to perform, or what if you don't get as great of a return, or what are the caps and fees and spreads. Out the window. All of that stuff out the window, right? Because we know that this is going to foot the bill for what these people want to have done. They want to have money in case they need it, and if they don't need it, they want it all to go tax-free to their kids. There's nothing else. They want to have all their money if they need it, tax-free, and if they don't need it, all their money goes to their kids tax-free. My gosh, honestly, what else is there? Is there any hole there? Is there anything else people can think of? If we don't do this insurance, and we don't do the long-term care, and we roll over with our $400, and we roll over with our $350, will we make a $700,000 annuity sale? Absolutely. Will we have done anything to improve their lives? Absolutely not. We would have made a bunch of money. We probably won't even have that client 5 years from now because they're going to realize, oh my God, I had these other issues that weren't taken care of. I'm getting screwed on my house. I got sick or hurt or something happened, and my guy, just like my Schwab guy, didn't do a thing for me. You guys, hopefully you're seeing how great it is, the win-win that we really have by us being able to spend the time and energy to do the right thing for our clients, get paid on it, and have a huge amount of value brought to their lives that will be life-changing. It's life-changing for the husband. It's life-changing for the spouse. It's life-changing for the kids. And you probably made 50% more money or maybe double the money that you originally would have made if all you did was go after the rollover. Hopefully that's helpful, guys. Do you have any questions about this case? Any insight? Any other ideas? Hopefully this is obvious to you. Hopefully the more you see it, the quicker you'll be able to plan these things. Hopefully you're making a killing because you're able to do multiple transactions. Hopefully you're able to be a game changer for these clients, change their lives, put a plan in place. We didn't even talk about the CRUT, right? Schwab into a CRUT, that's a no-brainer. Convert all this to IRA Roth, that's a no-brainer. We didn't even talk about that yet. I think it's incredibly gratifying knowing that we have completely turned this people's lives around. They might have even thought they were going to be okay, but they absolutely were not. All of this income is taxable to them. It's all going to be non-inflation adjusted. It's all going to be taxed. It's all going to be just horrible, horrible, horrible. I mean, we totally changed our lives around. Any questions? While you got me, got a couple more minutes. Is this all making sense to you? I'm sure you'd like to have one of these clients walk into your office every day, right? The idea is to get to as many people as you can, and every so often you'll get one of these. You guys probably figured out it's easily well over 6 figures in commissions. Well over 6 figures in commissions on one guy. All right, guys. Thank you very much. If you don't have any questions for me, go out there, do as much as you can, help as many people. Look for those win-wins. I really appreciate you coming on today, and I look forward to catching up with you guys. If you need any help with anything, let me know. If you need Elizabeth, let her know, and we wish you a really exciting move into fall. I know this is our busy season. Hopefully you guys are getting busy too, and your practices are growing, and everything is going well for everybody. Thank you guys very much.